Welcome to the IFAM Microtechnology Podcast, with talks about international high-tech business and cutting-edge technologies. Hello and very welcome to the latest episode of the IFAM Microtechnology Podcast, the podcast where we would like to dive deep into the fascinating world of microtechnology, nanotechnology, and different high-tech related business topics. IFAM, the International Microtechnology Business Network, connects innovative companies and their industries with each other. My name is Mona Okro-Hellweg, and together with Thomas Dietrich, we are your hosts today, and we try to bring you insights on questions of internationalization today. We have a special focus on B2B challenges and opportunities today, when it especially comes to the questions on business with Japan and business between Japan and Europe. And we are really happy to welcome a long-standing member of our network. Izumi Nakamura from MicroMIM will be our guest today, and she will give some insights from a very professional and a long-standing professional in that field, dealing with international business and internationalization issues. So welcome, Izumi.
Thank you very much for your invitation. I'm very happy to be here today.
Yeah, also from my side, welcome, Izumi, and thank you for the introduction, Mona.
So our very first question would be, so maybe you would like to give us a little more details about what your company does, and maybe we can see some specific aspects, what make it, or get some insights into the question, what is so challenging about entering the European market for a Japanese company?
Sure. Yeah, so the company that I'm working for is now called MicroMIM. I work for MicroMIM Europe. Since 2022, we have made this into full GmbH, which is a German entity. And before that, we were called Representative Office. And we are originally a Japanese company, established 52 years ago in Osaka, Japan. And we are manufacturing very small metal components with metal injection molding technology. And our metal components are used in many different sectors, but a lot of them are used in the medical device and some other precision machines and so on. So we have the headquarters and the factory and R&D in Osaka and sales office in Tokyo. And then we have established first the Thai entity in 2011. We have a factory and another lab, R&D lab. And then we have Germany since 2016.
Izumi, that's a very special technology, right? This micro-injection molding. Mm-hmm. So why does a Japanese company go with this technology to Europe? Mm-hmm. What is the background? What are you planning to do in Europe?
Yeah. So first, of course, we started in Japan. So Japan was our field for a long time. And then around 2010, 2011, the company decided to go more international. And we have been dealing with a lot of medical device companies and other field customers. And we thought, they are very much appreciated in Japan. A lot of our customers in Japan actually refer to each other, like from one department to another. And it just wasn't really necessary even to do sales and marketing. We had enough business with the word of mouth through different departments of our customers. So our idea was like, if it is so well received in Japan, it's also possible that there is need in European or also in American markets. And first we decided to go to European market before the US market. And this is when I joined. So I joined the company in 2014, which is 10 years ago, exactly May 2014. And so I was specifically hired to do this establishment of the German entity.
Wouldn't it be possible to service European customers from Japan, or is
Well,
that necessary to have
it's
something in Europe?
it's very difficult because one is the time difference, and 10 years ago we didn't have this Zoom and Teams and things like this, so it was very difficult. I mean, you were on the phone basically or by email, but because of the time difference, it wasn't so easy to cater for European customers' needs spontaneously, or for example, flying, someone to do something will, of course, take some time as well. So that's why we identified that it will be better to have an entity in Germany. And probably you would say, why Germany?
Right.
Amongst all the European countries. One of the things was that our CEO was very fascinated by German technology level. I mean, Japanese is also well known for the technology, but German is also known, and we have very similar work mentality, like punctuality and all this precision that is really important for us. Is usually the norm in Germany as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. That is what I hear often when we talk and when we have meetings between German and Japanese companies. Exactly, this business mentality is very similar, and especially punctuality and accuracy is a big point in both cultures, and that
Yes,
makes it easier to talk to come together. This is the
exactly.
part which we agree on both sides, but there are
Yeah.
a lot of differences also.
Yes, yeah. So I think the difference is, well, I mean, when I entered the market and I tried to establish the office and so on, some like CEOs in also technical companies said, Izumi, it's going to be very hard for you, because for him as a white man was very difficult as well in the beginning. So he kind of warned me that, well, Asian women would be super difficult in German manufacturing sector, which is probably in a way similar in Japan. I would say a lot of leaders in manufacturing sectors are, in Japan and Germany, I think similar, So
I mean, this is. I didn't thought about when we prepared this meeting about this aspect, but you're totally right. I mean, we are talking in Germany, at least in the last years, a lot about diversity, bringing women into business, bringing other cultures into business. But still, there's a lot to do, and so you experience this too,
yeah, I am often, well, in some like B2B events and so on, I'm the only woman, and I am only non-German person.
right?
So it's good for me because I stand out, and so it's good for my sales and marketing activity. But sometimes I feel like, so where are the international people?
Yeah, I
But
hope
I
that.
think this is same in Japan, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see that in Japan as well as in Germany, the number of women is increasing, definitely.
Yes.
You
Yes.
see this more
Definitely.
and more.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yeah.
and to be honest, when I talk in Japan with companies, mm, I get along with women much better.
Yeah.
They are much better in speaking English than
Yes.
the men
Yes.
are.
Yes. Yeah.
So it
That's
makes it
true.
much
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think for Japanese companies coming here in Europe, this language is the first hurdle,
Yes.
because even if Japan is well-educated nation, we are an island country. That means a lot of people don't go to other places, and therefore they don't speak so well English, let alone German or French or any other European languages. So first you need to really recruit somebody who is fluent, multilingual, understand international business
This
differences.
this leads directly to one question about business behavior or communication behavior. I mean, language is one thing, but
Yeah.
even if you know the language, we speak very differently. This is
Yes,
one
yes.
of the differences we have in Germany. We are very direct and come to
Yes,
the point and want to have a
yes,
solution now.
yes.
And in
Yeah.
Japanese, you have to read between the
Between
lines.
exactly. Very nuanced, ambiguous way of communication. And often, I don't know if you have heard of this term called nemawashi. That means you have consensus before the meeting.
Yes.
Of course, with the newer generation, this doesn't happen like before. And I have never done it myself, but like maybe my boss's generation did that. I don't know. I've never asked this question, but I think the older generation did that. And that was common sense. Like you need to convince everybody before the meeting, and then you just go to the meeting kind of pretending like you're discussing, but in the end it's already decided.
Yeah. I
For
had
me it's
I
like
had this
waste of time.
experience when I
Yeah.
started with Japan 30 years ago. Then I went to many of these meetings where I thought we start discussing and the Japanese side was already finished with everything. But this also changed.
Yes,
Nowadays, there are
yes,
more open discussions.
yes, yes. But I think the direct way of communication, which is quite common in Europe, or I should say maybe Germany, because other European countries are not all like this, but it is kind of considered a
Rude.
bit rude. Yeah, yeah. Because even with my colleagues that lived overseas, if I have different point of view and we argue in the meeting, other people are worried, like, oh, you girls are fighting. Like, no, we're just exchanging opinion. That's it. Like, there is nothing we're fighting about.
Yeah.
She just has another opinion and I have another opinion. And we just have to come to consensus on how to do business. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is something that people are not so comfortable with.
So I see. So as you both have quite a lot of experience within that intercultural experiences between Japan and Europe when it comes to communication, apart from that gender aspect we discussed before. So what kind of advice would you give to a starting company who tries to start in a new market? What should they keep in mind, and how should they behave not to be not to be seen as rude or not to be so? How should they behave? What should they do? What should they keep in mind?
Well, I think, first step is to research a lot with the target market, whether you're coming to Europe or if you're going to Japan. You need to analyze the market first, which means, of course, doing the customer or potential customer research and the potential of your clients or the sectors of the clients and competitor analysis and so on. And then I think it's best to hire people who have very international background, not just language, but also like living in different cultures or countries. And then, yeah, you need to really localize marketing material as well. Like, I think, depending on the country, the things that tick is different. So what would tick in France would not be probably in Germany. So there is differences in these different, well, I don't know if you call it languages or cultures, but being here like
Yeah.
kind of multicultural continent, I feel like there is a lot of difference.
So do you, as you are living in Germany and know a little bit how Germans behave or tick, do you teach your colleagues in Japan how to work with
Yeah, so
Germans?
sometimes I I don't have any like trainings as such, but I need to sometimes comment, or maybe we should do it like this or like that, or even between the US market, which is where we are since 2020. And there is quite a difference. Like, American people and German people are also very different. So sometimes I make comments like, for example, when we started to do the exhibition in the US, I said, as a very modest Japanese company, we should over exaggerate our marketing. Otherwise, we will not be heard. But, this
Yeah, right.
modesty is really in our culture. So it's sometimes difficult. Like they're like, yeah, but we can't say that. Like, of course we can. Why not? We can do this, so we should say more. And yeah, so
Yeah. But that's something really Japanese have to learn. I see that on fairs when Japanese go to European fairs, they are very much they standing inside of their
yes,
booth and don't go out
yeah,
and
yeah,
attack the people. But
yeah.
Europeans do that, and the other way around. I mean, Japanese found that very rude when on a Japanese fair the Europeans stand in
Corridor
the
and
way, and yeah, yeah. So that's. I mean, at IFAM, what we do for German companies is we make seminars, we teach them before we go on a fair in Japan,
that's
for
a good
example,
idea.
teach them right and teach them what the words sokoshi and jotto mean.
Okay, the nuance and yeah,
That they don't that it's difficult that Japanese don't say no,
exactly. That's
and
yeah,
um, and that's
yes,
important, and I think that's something we should do on both sides and teach people before they go to make try to make business in the other
yes, yeah.
country.
So let us know, what does it mean? These are two variations of saying no? Oh,
Yeah, it means a little. So it's not saying no, but saying maybe you can
no, but in a polite way.
Yeah, it's kind of like being between no and yes.
Yeah, and I heard several times when a translator translate this word by word, then the Europeans think, okay, he doesn't say yes or no, so maybe he's thinking about, so we can continue discussing. But on the Japanese side, it means no,
Yeah,
and that makes the
yeah, yeah.
discussions very difficult. Yeah,
Yes, yes, yeah. But I think this is the thing that differs from culture to
exactly.
culture, not just Japan and Germany, but I guess in other Asian cultures it could be different as well. But yeah, in general, Asian people are like that, very
Yeah,
similar. Like, we have a factory in Thailand, and I also lived in Laos, so I have the experience in Southeast Asia, and they are also similar. Like, they have, I don't know if you know this term, honne to tatemae. So honne is a true, what they really want to say or not say, but what they are really thinking or feeling. And then tatemae is like the facade, you know. And this also exists in other Asian cultures. So in general, when Europeans or Americans are trying to enter the market, they really need to know this cultural difference, because otherwise they will misunderstand. And as you said, like, there would be an effort in vain, believing that the other side wants something. And in the end, they're like, no, we said no. What are you talking about? So,
yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, you maybe you can tell a little bit what you did in your life before you came to Micromem or to Taisei,
yeah,
because you have
yeah, sure.
a lot of experience in different countries, right?
Yes. So as a teenager, first I lived in Sweden, which was on the exchange program. And so my first foreign language, apart from English, was Swedish. And then after that, I studied in Tasmania, Australia, and then worked in Melbourne in a stereolithography company, or joint venture between RMIT, which means Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology, a university in Melbourne, and a stereolithography company. Well, stereolithography probably is something that people don't even know so much. So it's basically like 3D printing these days, but it is called stereolithography. And this company was making so plastic parts, printed parts. So that was my first work, was like after graduation. And I also worked in Laos, which is a completely different area. I was working for non-profit sector. But yeah, so I've lived in Sweden, Australia, Laos, Japan, and Germany. So I think for a Japanese person, I'm quite
Yes.
international. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
definitely. I
that,
mean, you have a lot of
yeah.
cultural background, and I know from personal experience that you are in many cases very German direct.
Yes, but I think also maybe because I already lived in
Yeah.
Sweden as teenager, and so that's why I learned this way of communication. But for Japanese people, sometimes they say I'm too
Mm.
direct, and like my colleagues, like okay, sorry,
Yeah, probably.
but that's who I am. So
Yeah. So um, when we started, when you joined EFAM, I remember very well you were looking for customers in Europe and in Germany, and you were looking for marketing material. So, from your experience, what is the main difference between marketing in Japan and in Germany?
well, I think the Germans prefer very so factual information, like presentation with technical data, and like flyer with technical capability, and so it should be very much fact based. And I think the aesthetic is also different.
Oh, yes.
What is preferred, and that of course applies to other cultures too. But we work with like company who does like web design and so on, who is catering for that market. So now we have worked with a German company to establish our European game website, and so we get the actual local insight and advice of what would be best or more suitable for that market. And I think it's really important that you work with different experts, because as a small medium entity, we don't have huge resources. So we need to consult with external
Right.
experts.
And
Yeah.
I've seen many Japanese companies trying to get into Europe and just
Mhm.
translating their Japanese website and just put it the same
Yes.
design. And from my experience, this does not work
That doesn't work.
at
No,
all.
no. Yeah. So it has to be tuned to that market specifically. So yeah, I mean, we have a website in Thailand and in Japan and also in Europe, but yeah, each has to be different for that
Was
market.
it
So
Would you say that?
one last question, Mona? Was it difficult to convince your boss in Japan to make it in a different way in Germany?
not really. Basically, well, some things were not easily understood, but because he wanted to create this entity in Germany for the European, because I mean that's why he hired me. So yeah, that was basically one of his goal,
Mhm.
or like, so the thing was, I think, more to convince other people in the company who'd never been to other countries and didn't speak other languages. And sometimes like I have to be more strong to convince, this is the way things are in Europe, you cannot do like
Right,
this. And so sometimes it has to be some kind of discussion to talk over about these
right.
things. Yeah.
Would you say that this is the main challenge or the most important step to make this strategic analysis and do all this strategic preparations to really enter a foreign market? Or are there other steps that are more important? But when I see our discussions, it seems like this is maybe the biggest package of work that has to be done.
I would say, that the first, this like an entry stage, you really need to do a lot of analysis and I mean analysis, including talking to people, like actual people who are there and doing businesses. And in that, I think IFAM or this kind of technological or like industrial association is really good place because, for example, now other IFAM members can come to me and ask, how did you do, for example. So, and of course, ask your customers as well,
Right.
like, for example, like, would you be happy, or would it be more chance to do business with you if we are present in Europe? And like, of course, people will be very happy if you are nearby, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, especially in such technology areas like yours, I think there is a lot of discussion with customers necessary, and that's easier when you are in the neighborhood, can talk directly.
yes,
So speaking about support you get, you spoke about experts which helped you to build your website, and of course IFAM tries as a network, tries to help to bring connections. What else? What supporters did you get from Japan, for example?
So in Japan, actually, I first went to JITAI, German Trade and Invest in Tokyo, and consulted with them. And they basically introduced me to the state organizations like Baden-Württemberg International, North Rhine-Westphalen International, and so on. So these kind of, I don't know if they are called governmental or semi-governmental organizations, can help you to try and establish yourself, or just to do the market research first as well. They can connect you to the right people. And once we identified Baden-Württemberg would be the first location because of the medical device
Right.
industry is here in Baden-Württemberg. And then they introduced us to different cities, which could be potential. And for example, I am located in Technology Park Offenburg. So Baden-Württemberg international people, introduced me to this, the former CEO of this technology park. So having this networking, like I was based in Tokyo, so it was easier. The events were often held in Tokyo. So I went to those events and met some people and asked, like, is there any like people or organizations that they could introduce us to. We also use some translation companies or translation persons to get our material translated into English.
So what about
Yeah.
the JETRO, the Japanese External Trade Organization? Do they help, or do you use their components?
JETRO has been, for some things, we have been like consulting with them, but I don't think we have done a lot in terms of having advice. It's more they have a wide network, So and of course, they're being like also semi-governmental organization, they have sometimes like funding to help exhibitions and so on. So we have consulted in some cases.
So
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
many cases, you used German organizations which were located in
Yes.
Tokyo, and for the first step
Yeah, and
into the
then
country. Yeah.
yeah.
So do you know,
Yeah.
for the other way around, are there Japanese organizations in Germany where German companies can go to if they want to expand to Japan?
I think this is JETRO, basically.
Yeah,
They
that is definitely the first step, yes. But as far as
Yeah.
I know, JTRO focuses on the external trade,
Yeah,
helping
the way
Japanese going.
yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So what about
Yeah.
the consulates? I know that in Düsseldorf the consul is very
Mhm.
active and helping a lot. So maybe that is an address.
I think it's possible. Yeah, if you are in a city where the consulate is there, then it's a really point of contact, and because they know a lot of people, so they can probably introduce you to different organizations or the consultants. For example, we also had help of some consultants in the process of determining what entity we would like to establish, because you can do joint venture, you can do like we did the representative office first, or completely going to GmbH straight away, or completely buying a German company. There are many ways to enter the market. So this is probably something you would like to consult with some experts in that
Yeah,
field.
yeah. So when we speaking about future, I think I had the experience the last 30 years that on the one hand side, Japan becomes more open, people become
Mhm.
more Western. You can see that on TikTok, on
Yes.
Instagram, how they react there. So young people
Yeah.
are all over the world more or less the same behavior, and so
Yes.
would that
Yeah.
also change business in the future? Will we become more close?
I think, yeah, I think so, because now with all this technological advancement, we have the opportunity to see what goes on in other countries and how the other countries people behave. And so I would say that it will be a lot more like intercultural and internationalized
Mm.
society. And in our company as well, we have been increasing the number of non-Japanese employees. So now we have 6 or 7
Mhm.
nationalities in the headquarters. So it is really just a matter of time. Everybody will be exposed to non-Japanese, even in Japan, because, as you know, the population is declining, and we need to also consider importing experts from other
Yeah,
countries.
the
So,
same as
yeah,
everywhere in the world. I
exactly.
only hope that these cultural differences, which make sometimes business a little bit difficult, I would hope that they stay because I like these differences.
Yeah. I think that's the challenge, to have the uniqueness of each culture kept, and at the same time to have more understanding about each other.
Yes, I think,
So
yeah,
that is,
exactly. That's
yeah, very
that's
important.
something we should work on. Keep your own identity, but be open for
Exactly.
for others. And
Yeah. So yeah, but it's good to have this interaction between different cultures.
definitely,
Then other people would say something that you will never consider, when this is how innovation is
exactly.
born.
Yeah. So, yeah, thanks a lot. This was really interesting. And I think there have been some insights that are very useful for companies who
Yeah.
think about entering another, maybe Asian market, maybe Japan. And yeah, we will see what technology
Yeah.
future brings. If maybe artificial intelligence or well trained language models will help to overcome even intercultural or
Well,
gender communication
not
aspects. But
yet.
I think
Yeah. Yeah.
it will take some years to come
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
to go there.
Yeah.
And maybe, as you mentioned, that is not always wanted by everyone, because
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
some intercultural differences make
Exactly.
it really interesting and also
Interesting.
make fun of
Yeah,
international
yeah,
business.
yeah, yeah. That's true. Yeah, but I think the other thing that I forgot to mention is the what do you call, regulation aspects, or regulation and
Mm.
certification aspects. You really have to look. Since we came into Europe, we had GDPR, we had the MDR, which is medical device regulation. we had to obtain also ISO 13485 because we have a lot of medical device customers in both Europe and USA. So these are things that could be a bit challenging for SMEs because we are, small companies, and you need to allocate a lot of resources into these certification and following the regulation and checking on what's coming as well.
Yeah, and I would not be too sad if we could make that similar in each country so that we don't have to get through these processes every time again.
Yeah. At least European Union is trying to do that, although it's not always happening the way it's intended, maybe, but so.
Yeah, a lot of difficult. This is a totally other subject which we should discuss in another time, because that is a big subject and a very difficult subject, not only for Japanese or for foreign companies, but also for the European companies in Europe.
Yeah, but I think because of these market-specific regulations and so on exist, so Japan has its own difficult regulation and specific requirement, and of course Europe as well. So so you need to
keep that in mind.
Do we have the will and the resource to do this? Like considering so many things has to be done in order to sell to that particular market, and so it's a lot of aspects of the business that you need to consider when entering.
Okay, so thank you very much for this very interesting talk. And,
thank you very much.
Thanks from my side as well.
We will continue, definitely. That's something we have to work on.
Thank you, Izumi.
Sure.
Thank you, Thomas, for a nice conversation today.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Again.
Bye.
Goodbye. The IFAM Microtechnology podcast is produced by the IFAM Microtechnology Network. For information on current episodes, high-tech news from micro and nanotechnology, or to subscribe to our podcast as part of our monthly newsletter, please visit ifam.com.